What's up, everybody? The boys are back. Jim Arrange, episode 2. Karl Heiser, Alex Cervantes. If you haven't listened to episode 1, go do that. It's on Spotify now, so there's no excuse.
Oh,
Uh, episode 1 was really fun. Nothing in there should really age before the start of the season. We just talked about some off-season winners and losers, stuff like that, so go check that out. Today we're going to be getting into the ACC, doing a deep dive, talking about all the teams, who we think is good, who we think is terrible. And yeah, so before we get to that, we're just going to jump into some quick storylines, stuff that we were not able to touch on since our last episode. So the first one, which not a lot of people really talked about, is that Gonzaga head coach Mark Few was gotten a little bit of hot water because he got a DUI. So Alex, big deal, not a big deal? Is this something we really need to be worried about?
I don't know if it's something we need to be worried about. Naturally, we all make mistakes, and this is a kind of big one. But what is kind of concerning is the way, like, the national college basketball media kind of. There were articles. They were like, Gonzaga's Mark Few cited for drunk driving. That was about the extent of it. Gonzaga released a statement. We're launching an internal investigation. I think we all know what that means. I doubt he gets suspended. There were a few writers who came out and said maybe a 6-game suspension was good, but Gonzaga is going to be the preseason #1 team in the country. This is a team that everyone is expecting to compete for a national title. They're the #1 freshman in the country. It's a massive deal, but I don't think anything's going to come of it.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I think there's a sense in which it is a big deal. Drunk driving, not a joke. Don't do it. But in the grand scheme of things, I don't know that this is something that will affect Gonzaga in any way. Few came out, he apologized, seemed like he understood the ramifications of his actions, and so that's always encouraging to see. He will likely miss some games, but Gonzaga does have, interestingly enough, 2 exhibition games to start the season. So if he gets a 3-game suspension, he's back for Texas. So we'll see. Yeah, so not good, but they're still going to be good, and there are college coaches who have done much worse. So
Absolutely.
yeah. So
Absolutely.
yeah, but big deal, but also maybe not a big deal at the same time, depending on the context.
Yes.
Next one, recruiting news. John Shire's been on one lately.
Yeah.
He's been on one. He got Caleb Foster, first commit of the 2023 class for Duke.
Yep.
He and Coach Cal are really just going at it. Cal got Livingston.
Yep.
He got Shadon Sharp.
#1 player.
So, and it sounds like, based on just the latest intel, the viewers at home will know by the time they hear this episode. But it sounds like Derek Lively might
To
be
Duke.
next to Duke. So, Alex, just give me your reaction. I know, you're loving it over there. Maybe a
I'm
little too
loving it.
much, but
Probably a little too much. Here's the thing, though. In this era of one and done, it's just been Duke and Kentucky battling it out, and so the fact that, like, if Lively commits to Duke, I feel like that secures the Blue Devils the #1 class, and not going to play Kentucky for another 3 years after this season in the Champions Classic. So I'll take all the wins we can get. But now you're looking at 3 5-stars in the top 10, and Lively, Filipowski, and Derek Whitehead, plus Jaden Shutt, whose stock is rising. But Kentucky, they're just going to go out and they're probably going to get Adem Bona. And so it's just,
right.
in both cases, the rich get richer, like you've said.
Yeah.
So,
Which, as far as like consolation prizes, like Bona's like as good as it gets. So
honestly, he's like a
so
top
they'll be
4 center in
fine.
that class.
Yeah. So
Definitely less prolific on the offensive end as
mhm,
Lively, but the defensive impact probably is greater because he starred for that Turkey team in the U19 World Cup.
mhm.
He and that offense will be so electric. You probably only need the rim runner, couple dives, lobs. He'll get you 10 to 12 points. I mean, he could get 5 blocks a game if he wanted to.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he'll be
Yeah.
fine.
And um that's the thing. I wrote the article like, John Shire will keep Duke basketball relevant. And he's doing a lot more than that. He's keeping them like very, very good and getting
Yes,
them high quality players.
the recruiting wasn't going to die.
It
That was
never
a
was.
misconception.
Yeah, it
No.
never was.
And Coach K's staying around the program. He's going to keep his office in Cameron.
Mhm.
Like, not much is going to change.
Right. And that's the thing. I think people who thought that the recruiting was going to die down for Duke
No,
were pretty casuals. Like,
because
uh,
Shire and that staff have been the ones getting those
yeah,
kids to commit for the better part of 5
exactly,
years. Coach
exactly.
K
They've
was
been the
just the finishing touch.
right. They've been the primary. They were the primary guys behind Zion Williamson and like
RJ
RJ
Barrett,
Barrett
Cam
and those
Reddish, the list
guys.
goes on.
Right. So that's where kind of the recruiting power came from with Shire, and now he's got more of a front and center role, and so if anything, it might just get better for them. I don't know. um, yeah, so that's good. That'll do it for our just kind of quick storyline stuff that we wanted to touch on, keep you guys in the loop. One of our goals for this podcast is definitely to make the college basketball landscape a little more accessible for people
Mhm.
because we do understand that there's so many schools, there's so many players, there's so many it's kind of overwhelming for someone who just wants to kind of get into college basketball, and so hopefully this show will be something that makes it a little more accessible for you, and um, yeah, just makes you a little more aware of the stuff that's going on, the important stuff. So moving on, today's our ACC preview. We're hoping to go through, do all the major conferences.
Yep.
So today's the ACC. We're gonna touch on all the teams, but maybe not go super deep into some of them because there's not a whole lot to say. But yeah, so the way this is gonna work is we're gonna go through 15 to 1. So we're gonna count from the teams that we think will finish towards the bottom of the conference and work our way up to the top and talk about sort of our expectations, why we think they will finish where they'll finish. So first up on the list is we had the same bottom three, Alex and I.
Yes, we do.
He had Boston College at the bottom. I actually had Wake Forest at the bottom, but we'll talk about Boston College first.
Okay.
They, the Jim Christian era is over.
It is.
Finally, took forever, but they have a new first-year head coach, and
Yep.
who'd they get? Earl Grant? Is that who they
Yep.
got? Yeah,
College of Charleston.
yeah. So it sounds like the big thing there is that they're going to see a big shift in their team identity, where Jim Christian was like, "We're going to run the possessions up, we're going to shoot a lot,"
Yeah.
and the problem is when you are not good. That just makes it easier for the better team to when there are more possessions in a game, chances are the better team is going to
And the younger
come out on
teams want
top
to
of
run
that.
faster too. And the younger
Yeah.
teams are typically the better teams in the ACC.
Mhm. Yeah. And so that's why you see teams like Gonzaga, they were, top 3 in tempo last year. And that's because they were so good that they wanted to maximize the amount of possessions
Just want to
that
run.
they were getting. Yeah. You just want to run with teams because eventually, law of averages, you're just going to, you're going to win. So it sounds like Boston College is going to slow it down this year, play more of a defensive down tempo style, which I think will help them in the long run, because we've seen teams like Virginia at a much higher level be successful with playing that sort of style of basketball where maybe they don't have the best athletes or even the best shooters, but because of just slowing the game down, they're able to win some games that maybe you wouldn't expect. So that's kind of what I see with Boston College. I do think that they are a bottom 2 team in the ACC just because they don't have the firepower to keep up
Not
with
yet,
some of
at
the other
least.
teams.
Earl Grant, just give it a couple of years, and I think if he can start recruiting kids from the Northeast area, they could see an uptick. Maybe they're finishing in the low teens.
Yeah, and it's not that Boston College hasn't had good players over the years. Like they had Kai Bowman and they had
They
like
guys
they've
who
had
could score, but
yeah,
it's tough when you can't when
they've
you
had
take out
good
the number one option.
right. They've had good guys come through their program, but at the end of the day, their style of basketball wasn't really conducive to winning. And
No,
when you just have one guy, that's also not really conducive to
and
winning.
they've had a
So
lot of transfers too. That's hampered their
yeah, that's
progress.
true. Yeah. So that's Boston College, bottom two.
Oh,
Next up, Wake Forest.
yes.
Alex, you wanna go in on Wake Forest?
I mean, it's similar to Boston College in a certain sense. I mean, I like Steve Forbes as a coach, so they'll compete in some ACC games that they probably shouldn't compete in. They'll I feel like the in-state rivalry games between Duke, Carolina, and NC State, maybe they squeak out a win against two of those teams. They brought in four transfers. Um, Isaiah Mucius, he's going to need to take a massive leap. He averaged, I think, 11 points a game last season. He got to probably push 14 or 15 this season. He's going to probably be their number one target. Carter Witt, who I think is my age, I think he's 19, but he came in early. He only played half a season there. He's going to probably lead that Demon Deacons attack. We're going to see whether or not he's capable of being an ACC floor general. I think he is, but he had a full season to get acclimated as basically a high school senior. So there's upside there. Um, they'll sneak a couple wins, but they'll probably finish 4-16. It's a 20 game ACC season. I don't know how many they can actually win. Maybe but yeah, it's not looking too bright.
Yeah, I don't. The reason I put Boston College over Wake Forest is because I think with Boston College's kind of shift, I think that'll get them maybe like one or two wins that maybe you wouldn't expect. Wake Forest was horrendous last year,
On
and
both
they
ends.
didn't on
Both
both
ends of the
ends,
floor. It was
defense,
just bad.
offense, overall
Bad.
disaster.
It was.
And I don't see anything really to suggest that that's going to change this year. Their head coach, I think it's his second year this year.
I think so.
Okay, yeah. So it's one of those things where you have to be patient, but right now things are not looking positive for Wake Forest. Another bottom two team.
Yeah.
Yeah. So next up we have Pitt.
Yep.
Both picked them to finish 13th in the conference out of 15. Um, Pitt just Pitt is such a weird case to me because they can't keep anybody in their
They
program.
lost so many transfers. It was
People transferring out left and right, and this has been a problem for a couple years now. Marcus Carr was a Pitt guy, and then he transferred to Minnesota, and now he's with Texas. But
Cam Johnson, Pitt guy, transfer.
Cam Johnson, Pitt
I know that
guy.
was before Jeff Capel, but still
Hmm.
massive get for the Tar Heels. He stayed in the same conference, and now
Yeah,
he's
so
Suns. So
yeah, yeah. Now he's like playing in the NBA Finals and actually playing pretty well.
yeah,
So yeah, the thing with Jeff Capel, I don't know whether to trust him or not to trust him at this point. Like I want to believe like Coach K coaching tree like there's probably some merit in that. He has gotten some good guys to commit there. He got Judah Mintz, who's supposed to be pretty good coming in next year, which should be encouraging. But
guys
he
commit
like
too. Like he'll get those early commits, and then
mhm.
they decommit. And I
Yeah,
mean,
so
He struggled at Oklahoma in the post Blake Griffin era. That's why he got fired and ended up back at Duke. So
mhm.
I'd like to think there's upside there, but how long Pitt's going to continue with the experiment is the real question.
Yeah, and these probably not this year, but in the next couple years, I do think he's going to be on the hot
Hot
seat
seat.
if things are not trending in a positive direction. Yeah, they just the retention rate for their program has not been very
It's not
good over the
good.
last couple of years, and this year they have one player who was a double-digit scorer last year, Daniel Oladapo, and he's a
The transfer.
transfer from Oakland.
Exactly.
So
It's not the
who's
ACC.
to right? So who's to say if he's even going to be a double-digit scorer this year? So they lost Jesse
Champagne.
Champagne, yeah, Penny, Xavier Johnson.
DZA
So
Tony.
yeah, so they're going to need guys. It sucks for them, but they just don't. I don't know who they have to score, but
Yeah.
I still would put them above Boston College and Wake Forest, even though I'm kind of convincing myself that they
But
might
that's the
be
bottom
worse than
tier.
them.
That's the bottom tier. 13 through 15, they could shake it up however they want to end it, but those are the worst three teams.
Yeah, so that's the clear bottom three, I think, in the
Yes.
ACC. Moving into the next team. So at 12, who'd you have at 12?
Georgia Tech.
Okay. All right, let's talk about Georgia Tech. I had them at 10, but let's talk about
Oh,
Georgia
okay.
Tech.
So
Yeah.
they're 11 in our little
Yeah, so they'd
shake.
be at 11. Yeah.
So who'd you have at 12?
I had NC State at 12.
Okay, so we're both low on NC State. You want to?
Yeah,
Because
we're okay. Let's
I
talk
had
about
NC
NC
State at
State then.
11.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about NC State.
I
Um,
mean,
there some people are like
high.
projecting them to be middle of the pack to like sort of upper middle of the pack, like around the 7 range.
That was a good pun, by the way. Wolfpack
Oh,
knows.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
thanks. Yep. Um, I just don't like I was looking through shout out Three Man Weave because
Absolutely.
they do really good
They
team
do really good
previews,
stuff.
really good stuff. So go check out their site if you want some more info. I just I like Kevin Keats. I like him, but this team is not good. Like I they're not good. They're not going to be good. They got Casey Morsell from Virginia.
But he's a four
That's
points a game scorer. Like
yeah,
that's
but like right. But at the same time, it's hard to say because like in Virginia's system, everyone's a 4 point a game scorer. So
okay. Still,
yeah, but still, I did
Jay Huff averaged double digits. But
yeah.
yeah,
It's not. I don't know. Do you have thoughts? I just don't see what the
I
buzz
mean,
is here.
Braxton Beverly finally graduated. I mean, that's a massive loss. I mean, just sharpshooter who's been in the ACC for a decade, he's gone.
Yeah.
Funderburk's gone. That's massive loss to the front court. He would just bully those younger guys. Manny Bates, almost a 10 points a game scorer last season. Gonna need to make that leap again. I mean, it's a senior year. I feel like it's a senior year. No, maybe junior. But um, yeah, I mean, just looking at their roster, I don't know, because Rothstein had them as like a sleeper to finish, like to push maybe for a like bye week in the ACC tournament. I just don't see it. I agree with you in that regard. Like I really don't have much to add beyond that.
Yeah, it's like
Morcell, Morcell's an
uh
experiment, and
yeah,
the guards have to step it up. Cam Hayes, no, he came in last year. Like he's gotta be more like their highest assist leader last year was Hayes, and he had 3 assists a game. You gotta have a better playmaker.
hmm It's one of
So
the situations where you like there are all these analysts who know the game but are putting NC State a little higher than I think they probably should, just because so for the viewers at home, Alex and I did not we did our rankings blind. So like I didn't see his
yeah,
before we started, and he didn't know mine before we started. So there wasn't
no,
like we weren't influencing each other's rankings at all. But we're coming into the show and
they're
having the
very
same
similar.
thoughts. They're very similar, which is interesting,
Remarkable.
which is remarkable. But
It really is.
um, yeah, but we are collectively not high on NC State. Next up, we'll talk about Georgia Tech. You had them
I had them 12
12. I had them 10. So
to
that's a
11.
net of 11. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So, yeah, Georgia Tech. was sort of the Cinderella of the ACC last year.
Ugh, it's frustrating.
Yeah, which is sort of, I mean, sort of weird to think about. But coming into this year, they've lost.
They lost the
I mean,
ACC Player of the Year, and they
they
lost the
lost
ACC
Moses
Defensive Player of the Year.
they lost Moses Wright, they lost Jose Alvarado, who are just the heart and soul of the team. And so even though
Absolutely.
they have, I think they have four guys coming back who are supposed to start. So
Yep.
I mean, it's always nice to have that continuity, but when your two best players are gone, it's like an Ohio State situation, which we kind of touched on last week. They're losing their best player, bringing back Liddell, but it's depth is good, but when it's only like the end of your depth, it's not really that good. You want somebody
DeVoe's
who's like
never
better.
been DeVoe's never been the lead guy, and now he has to be. And he
Mhm.
averaged 15 a game last season, but he's going to be the primary wing target for every team they play. He's going to get the
Yeah,
number one defender. Bubba Parham, I mean, he's a really short guard. You can stick maybe a 6'2" point or combo guard on him. And I mean, they like to spread the ball, they like to shoot it. Jordan Usher is going to be a threat, but I mean, it really just boils down to, like you said, they lost Wright and they lost Alvarado. It's time to see what the rest of the team is worth because they bailed
mhm.
them out of a ton of games.
Yeah, it's true. And it remains to be seen how much production they're going to get from their front court. Um, like you said, I mean, Michael Devo is like he's going to be their primary scorer, primary initiator, most likely. Uh, but guys are going to key in on him
And
on
who's
the
going to play
defensive
make
end.
too? Like
So
DeVoe's a
right,
scorer first. Parham is more of like a spot up shooter. And he was so inconsistent. So a ton of question marks for Passner heading into the season.
ton of question marks for Passner, but at the same time, we've just last year we've seen him do things with a team that nobody really expected to amount to anything.
Yeah.
So in that sense, like maybe Passner can work some magic, but as far as this is probably at best an NIT team, I would say.
Yeah.
I don't think this is a tournament team, barring some more,
Barring
ACC
some
tournament magic.
or some true like conference just it's insane like last season.
Mhm. Right. So yeah, we're kind of in agreement on them
Yeah.
as far as where we have them. So next up, I believe
It's gotta be Clemson, right?
It's got to be Clemson. I have them at 11. You have them at 10.
Yeah. So
Uh,
10.5. Yeah.
they, for me, the end of last season really showed what this Clemson team kind of. It definitely showed what they really were last season. Where last year they opened up red hot, but most of that was because their defense was phenomenal.
Your defense is always
Offensively,
gonna be good.
it's going to be good.
It's
It's going to be
always
good
good.
this. It's going to be good this year. But they had Amir Sims to score the ball. I believe he's gone.
Oh, he's gone.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So
He was their lead. I believe he was their leading points, rebounds, and assists. So take that
that
for what you
would
will.
not surprise me. They do have so they got some like I think nice transfers.
Yeah,
They got
Bohannon and
Nas
Collins.
Bohannon. Yeah, so they got Nas Bohannon from Youngstown State. He was a 16 and a half, 8 rebounds a game guy. Uh, yeah, it's just I don't know. It is one of those where like they were a tournament team last year, but they flunked out at the end of the season.
Yeah.
And I kind of see them doing kind of the same thing this year where they start out win a couple games and then get into ACC play and just get manhandled by some of these other
No,
programs.
I agree. Though to me, they have a solid 8. Like I think Hunter Tyson will probably start at that kind of like stretch four role. Um, Maybe Bohannon comes off the bench. I mean, it'll just depend about how the fall goes and where Brownell wants to shake it up. But I mean, Hemingway, even if Tyson comes off the bench, Chase Hunter, all three of those are really good shooters. So there'll be times where they can stretch the floor. Dawes is back. Nick Honor. he'll be more comfortable in the ACC this year, and just amounts to PJ Hall is the tallest. I mean, that's the front court depth. It's basically PJ Hall and Ben Middlebrooks, who's a freshman. They're both 6'10". Front court depth is going to be an issue. And when you play teams like Florida State, who have 3 guys all above 7 feet, you're going to run into some issues. But Brownell will get them to defend. They'll play some ugly games. They'll probably steal a couple in Little John. They could maybe challenge they'll be a bubble team. In my eyes, they'll be a bubble team for most of the season.
I can buy that. Like one of the last major
last 4 in, or they'll be first 4 out or next 4 out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can definitely see that. Their defense will definitely be there. It's just a question of who steps up to score the ball.
Yep. Absolutely.
But also, I mean, Brownell we might be coming to the end of the Brownell era in Clemson.
Yeah, he's been on the hot seat for my entire life, so
yeah. Right. Yeah, you'd like to. Well, maybe he's not on the hot seat. I don't know.
Maybe not anymore. I don't know. It's every other season.
Yeah. Yeah. Moving on from Clemson, we both at 9. We both had Miami.
Fantastic. I mean,
yeah, makes it easy. So
it really does.
Yeah. Anything you want to say on Miami?
I think Isaiah Wong is going to be a first-team All-ACC guy.
Oh, I like that take. I do like it.
I think Isaiah, his shot selection needs to be better, but the man can score. He can play make. He's fun to watch, except when he plays Duke. I think there's a lot of buzz about Anthony Walker. I can buy into that. Charlie Moore, I'm interested to see what he does as a transfer. He played in the Big East, ACC. They're both good heavyweight college basketball conferences, so maybe the leap isn't that extreme. You did lose Earl Timberlake to Memphis, and you lost Chris Likes too, so those hurt. But I mean, it's a good team. Like, it's a good 7. Jim Larinaga knows how to coach in the ACC.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's true.
They'll have some upset wins, and then they'll lose to Boston College. And I don't know. It'll happen because that's the ACC. But again, it's another bubble team that if they hit their stride come February, March, maybe you're looking at a last 4 in bid.
I was looking through their rotation of just who they're bringing in. Mm-hmm. They have 4, almost 5 guys who scored double digits last year. Which that jumps off the page for one.
And they have depth. They have depth at every area. I know it's still like there's freshmen, there's red shirts, but they have 3 guys to me that are all above 6'10". So there's your front court. They have a ton of wing depth, but that's always the case in Miami. They've got guard depth, so I think they're fine.
Yeah, it is. We're kind of like talking ourselves up on Miami here that maybe they won't be as low as 9. But you mentioned before we started recording that you kind of have it in tiers. So there's
4 tiers. Yeah, in my mind.
Are they their 3rd tier team?
Miami is like on kind of that precipice of the 2nd tier, but I feel like 13, 15 is the bottom. I think like 7 to 12, that's like they'll steal a couple games they could push in the ACC tournament. 3 through 6 is like they could contend, and then I think there's 2 clear cut. Like either of these teams can win the ACC and they'll contend for national titles.
Yeah, but with Miami, we both have them at 9. But it sounds like if everything
kind of high, maybe we undersold. Maybe we undersold.
Maybe, yeah, maybe. But if everything breaks right, I think they could be 6, 7.
Yeah, why not?
But I have to trust myself looking back and saying like I saw that and still put them 9. So
we see the potential. So
yeah, but we see it. We see it. So for if any of you Miami fans are watching, we see it.
We have one Miami.
We get the vision. Okay, so I think next
I have Notre Dame.
I had Notre Dame at 7, so I think they're the next one. Yeah. So
that's fine.
Yeah, Notre Dame, they'll also have they'll score. they're gonna score.
Of course they'll
Will
score.
they play? Will they play defense?
No,
We'll see. Probably not,
it's
but
optional. It's optional in South Bend in multiple sports too. Like football, basketball, it doesn't matter. Who needs defense? Let's just run it up.
yeah, that's just the Notre Dame brand is score and don't play defense. But yeah, they got Prentice Hub coming back, who's going to be the lead guard. They
Again,
just what I like about them is they have a lot of it's not just returners, but guys who are like a lot of seniors. Like they got it's one of
yeah,
those it's sort of uh like the lower version of like what Wisconsin was like a year ago or 2 years ago, where like they had a ton
yeah.
of seniors and
They'll know how to
so that,
win
I mean
games. They'll know how to compete,
it's definitely it's worth something to
and they
have.
can shoot. Notre Dame can always shoot,
Mhm.
which can dig them holes in games where they're struggling, but they will take a lot of threes and they will probably make a ton of threes. Like Cormac Ryan can shoot, Dane Goodwin, Prentice Hub can light it up. I know 3-man, we've touched on it. The Paul Atkinson transfer is huge from Yale.
Yeah. Was he originally going to go there? Didn't he? Did he flip?
He might
Or
have.
am I okay? I forget if it was there was some Ivy League guy who oh, wasn't it the guy who went to wasn't there a guy from the Ivy League who went to Duke? Do you remember?
Yeah, Patrick Tape, Columbia to Duke,
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah.
decommitted, and then chose to come back to Duke.
Okay. That's what I was thinking of. But um yeah, Atkinson anchoring the middle should be should be good. I don't think he'll I think he'll be good. I think he'll be
He'll be solid.
one of
He's
their
solid.
primary options. Um,
He's
but
another
yeah.
solid fighting Irish center.
Mhm. All right. Yeah. So that's as far as the scouting report on Notre Dame goes. They're going to score. They're not going to defend. But you can watch this back next year, and that'll probably be the case then too.
Always.
Yeah.
So Syracuse?
Next.
It's gotta be
Um,
Syracuse. No?
I don't know if it is.
No
Actually,
way.
no, it is Syracuse. It is
Yeah, it is. It
Syracuse.
has to be Syracuse. I was fixing to
It
say
is.
I would have been shocked.
It is. Well, because this is seven, and
Yeah, it's a
You,
7.
you can write Syracuse and Sharpie for seventh place in the ACC every single
That is
year.
bold, but you may not be wrong.
Yeah,
Sharpie
it's I've written an
and a
article
10
on
seed in
this.
the NCAA tournament. Always
Yes,
10 or
I
11.
double digit seed. I've written an article on this in the past, just how infuriating it is that Syracuse just stinks it up in the ACC and then get into the tournament and they
99 in the ACC. You
manage
win
to
2 games
fool
in the tournament.
everyone every year.
Sweet 16. It's like clockwork.
Yeah, it's just Boeheim's formula.
And
Uh,
Baham's got both his boys
he got both his boys,
in
and
Syracuse.
this team is going to shoot, and it is going to be so annoying to play them because you're going to get the zone,
The
which
2-3 zone is already frustrating. Already frustrating.
people in the ACC kind of know it, but like just having that look, especially for guys who are just coming out of high school and
So
probably haven't
used to
seen
man to
it,
man.
so used to man, it's still going to be a problem for some of these teams.
It's always a problem for Duke.
Always a problem for always a problem for teams like Duke and but they brought Gerard back. They have Buddy Boeheim back. They bring Jimmy Boeheim in on a transfer. This team like they just have shooters everywhere.
Cole
Shooters,
Swider, stretch 4 from Villanova. Kind of didn't work out with Jay Wright. He was a top, I think, 25 recruit in the country. He could shoot. Shocker.
yeah.
Notre Dame and Syracuse, the best 2 probably shooting teams in the ACC.
Mhm.
Maybe Virginia Tech, but we'll get to them.
Yeah.
No, I mean, Buddy Boeheim, I feel like he's a clear-cut first-team All-ACC choice. He's their primary option. He's going to shoot it. He'll get fouled because everyone contests. So,
hmm Yeah.
yeah,
So
that's Syracuse. That's Syracuse.
Syracuse is like, yeah, you know exactly what you're getting. You're getting the zone. This year, I think they'll have more shooting, maybe even than they did last year. But yeah, they're going to shoot the three. They're going to defend at, I don't know if I want to say a high level, but a different level than you
I
might
have
see
questions about their
from
front
other
court.
people.
I have questions about
Yes.
the front court
Yeah. As far as the front court goes, they're not very deep, but that
because they
backcourt
lost
will.
Griffin, Dolajai, and Guerrier, and that was their front court
That
last
was it.
season.
Yeah. So, yeah, the front court definitely presents some questions, but their backcourt is among the best in the ACC, I
Absolutely,
think.
without a doubt.
Absolutely. And so that'll get them, into that kind of middle tier, and win them some games against teams that I think are better than them on paper, just because they'll get hot from three and it'll be over. So that's Syracuse. Let's move to the next one.
I had
I
Virginia.
believe yes, but
Do you want to
I
talk about
had
Louisville?
I had Louisville at 8, and you had
You had
them.
Louisville at 8.
I had Louisville at 8.
Who'd you have at 6?
At 6, I had at 6 I had Syracuse.
I don't. You just said pencil them in at 7. I mean, sharpie them
Well,
in.
yeah,
You are low on Louisville.
I'm
That
very
is so
low.
low. I
I'm
have them
very
at
low on
5. We can
Louisville.
talk about Louisville. I mean, we're already talking about Louisville. Might as well.
Yeah, let's just touch on Louisville, and you tell me what your thoughts on Louisville, and then I'll tell you why I'm not high on them.
They're in my tier that they could push for the double bye in the ACC tournament. I feel like most of the country has them in that 3-4 range in the ACC. I have them at 5, not as high, because their backcourt is essentially all transfers. They've got the number one JUCO transfer in the country in Albert Ellis, who, we've yet to see him play Division I basketball. And that's not a slight at JUCO. Those are guys that can all hoop. But we just need to see it in the ACC. Noah Locke, double points a game scorer, but more of a spot-up shooter. He's going to need to play make in that offense. And then just Jared West too. Like he'll probably be running the show. But I have them at 5 because I believe Malik Williams is healthy. He can anchor that front court. He will defend well. He will rebound at a high clip. That's why I have them at 5. I believe in Malik Williams. He could maybe challenge for Defensive Player of the Year. Who knows? I'll let you explain why they're 8.
Yeah. So here's the thing is I guess just to preface, once we get into this middle tier of teams, you're looking at 5 and 9 could be separated by like a game, 2 games. Because once you get into that middle sort of section, like
12 and 8, 13-7.
yeah, like this, I don't think the separation is going to be as drastic as like
it looks on paper.
It looks on paper. So there, and the ACC kind of lends itself to that, especially
always.
Once you get past those like initial like 3 good teams, it's like, kind of a toss up. And so I kind of see there's going to be a team, I don't know which one. There's going to be a team that people think like they're going to be good, and they're going to challenge for ACC title, or they're going to be a top 5 seed in the tournament, and they are not that. And so Louisville is my pick.
Know who that is.
Louisville is my pick for that team that is going to underperform. And part, they still have this whole like Chris Mack, Gaudino saga.
They've got this going on always.
They've still got it going on, and I try not to make too much of like, oh, it's going to be a distraction for the program. Like they've had Louisville is just distraction city. Like they lived through Rick Pitino, and so I don't think that that's necessarily a major factor, but at the same time, it's like, Chris Mack's not going to be there for
6 games.
For 6 games. Which won't really affect them as far as ACC standing goes, but I do think not having your head coach for 6 games, when you're not an elite team like Gonzaga, I do think that makes a difference.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and it does. I like L. Ellis, and I love JUCO guys. I think they're some of the most underrated hoopers in the country.
They'll play well.
People sleep on JUCO. Like Ellis is going to be good for Louisville. Remains to be seen whether he'll start. But
6-man
on
or 2 guard combo, it doesn't matter.
six man or combo guard, that their whole backcourt is transfers basically. Um,
Yep.
so that's a little concerning for me, especially just because a lot of these other teams that we've talked about have backcourts that we really trust, and so
Hmm.
I don't know that Louisville is on that level. But that's
Yeah.
why I have them at 8. That could totally backfire. I recognize that. I get that I'm, one of the only members of college basketball media who thinks that they'll be that low. Everyone does have them in that like 3 to 4 range. So
I thought at
I'm
5
definitely
was sleeping on
I'm
them.
I'm definitely yeah, I am hibernating on Louisville. Uh yeah, so
So
that's all right. So we got into Louisville. So now we're in our top what, six,
5, I
five,
guess. I had
top
Virginia
five.
6. I had Virginia 6. I'll say
Okay,
that.
I had Virginia 5. So
Yeah.
we're
Okay.
pretty close. We're pretty close there. We we kind of talked about them in episode 1,
Yep.
but so I don't know that we need to spend too much time on them. But the problem with them is that they don't have. I don't know who's going to score because it's not going to be Kihei Clark, and Reese
No.
Beekman scored like 3 points a game last year.
It's got to
Um,
be the transfers. It's got to be
it
Franklin and Gardner. It's
it's
got
gonna
to be.
have to it's gonna have to be. Otherwise, they're in big trouble. I think.
I don't know if they're in big trouble though, because they'll defend. They'll win a game
Well,
that's 48-42.
yes, Tony Bennett is going to be their MVP this year because as far
Yeah.
as like just on paper, looking at the team,
A little timid,
um,
a little scared.
yeah, it's a little nervous, but Tony Bennett, one of the best coaches in the country, he's going to get that. This team is still they're going to find their way into the tournament. Um, they're going
Six,
to
seven,
be,
probably.
they're going to win a game probably against UNC or Duke, because they're going to,
It's gonna happen.
because they're going to win these games like 50-45. And um, yeah, it's just on paper, this is not the Virginia teams of past where it's like 1, 2. Um, this is they're going to be solid, but they're a 5-6
Yeah,
team.
I think
Um,
that's right.
and I think it's a pretty fair assessment of where they are right now. Because they lost a ton of scoring, a ton. Um, so
Number
yeah, that's
4,
Virginia. That's Virginia. We'll move on to 4. We both had
in-state
Virginia
rival,
Tech. We
in-state
both had
rival.
Virginia Tech, and I love that we are both high on Virginia Tech. I
Absolutely.
think I think Storm Murphy is going to go off.
I love Storm Murphy. I agree.
I think he's going to be awesome for Virginia Tech.
I think we're about to say
Uh,
the exact same thing for the next 2 minutes.
yeah, yeah. So at
I
this
mean,
point, yeah, the rest of our rankings are exactly the same, up from 4. So yeah, we're talking. But Virginia Tech, tell me why you put Virginia Tech at 4. I'm so happy that we're both high on them.
I, I I love their style of offense. Like it's so many sets. It's so intricate. It's so much fun to watch. The amount of screens there are, everyone is always moving. And when they elevate for jump shots, I don't know. I was a shooter in high school, so there's something about them squaring their shoulders and their footwork coming off of down screens that I just absolutely love from them. Um, Murphy will score in the ACC. I'm not worried about that. The Tyrese Radford loss hurts, but Keve Luma, if he had left, that would have been massive. He's back. He's their top dog. He could challenge for ACC Player of the Year. Justin Mutz can score. Like their starting 5 can all score the ball, and they'll defend too. It's a good team, and they could push. Probably, I think they could be a Sweet 16 team.
I like that. Yeah, this is just a team that gets their offense is so fun to watch. They get quality shots all game long, and they have the guys to hit those shots. They have Storm Murphy. Uh, they have Naheem Lane. So they have the guys to be a very,
Absolutely,
very solid team this year. And I love their offense. Defense, I think it'll be fine.
and Mike
I think
Young
it'll be,
can coach.
yeah,
That's why they're 4.
yes, that is why they're 4. So when Virginia Tech finishes top 4 in the ACC this year, remember who you heard
Remember
that from
us?
first. Yeah, remember us.
We said it.
Yeah. 3,
Florida
big
State.
3, Florida State.
Absolutely. Only because of Leonard Hamilton, in my mind.
Right. Yeah, the ageless wonder that is Leonard Hamilton. Um, they lose Scotty Barnes, but I don't know that that'll really make that much of a difference. uh,
I think it will. I actually think it does, but I think they'll get guys to pick up the slack.
well, it will because they won't have that, that lottery talent. Obviously, like they won't have somebody to just kind of default to. Uh, and he was, I mean, easily their best player. But now they're
They
starting.
lost.
Okay,
They
so here's the thing. Here's the thing about Florida State. Now that I'm thinking about it, they're starting 2 freshmen at the guard spots.
That is according to three-man weave. That is what they think.
That's
I
true.
think
So do you
Caleb
think
Mills was
Mills?
hurt last season. He played his freshman year at Houston. I think he was a 14 points a game scorer and a playmaker. I actually think he'll start.
Okay.
But even then, you have either Worley or or Cleveland coming off the bench. Either one is fine. Leonard Hamilton will get them to defend. They will rotate guys who can all seemingly, even though on paper, like they could all get you 5 to 7 a game.
Yeah.
They'll always have front court depth. They will
Mhm.
defend. Tallahassee home games will be electric. They're always a tough team to play. Road, they're a little bit iffy most of the time, but at home, they're tough. They're stalwart.
Yeah, they're gonna be. Yeah, I mean, we both have them at 3. They also brought in Fletcher from Kentucky, so
We didn't get
we'll
to see
see.
enough of them. That's the
He
only issue.
didn't. Yeah, that's the thing. Like,
And then there was the drama with Coach Cal, and then he got benched. And he didn't see. Yeah,
yeah.
there was a lot of drama. Of
Right, but I mean, he's talented, so
course, he's
he'll.
talented.
I mean, yeah, right. I mean, he went to friggin' Kentucky,
He went to
but
Kentucky.
yeah. But I mean, yeah. So it remains to be seen how much he contributes. But I mean, we should expect to see a lot more of him this year than we did last year. All right, moving on. So I'm guessing your top tier is 2 teams.
It is,
right?
and it's only
Okay.
2. Yep, it's
exactly who you'd expect.
exactly what you expect.
Yeah. So 2, we both had Duke. I guess you put them at 1B.
I did put them at 1B, and I'll explain
you weren't
why.
willing to put them at 2 because they're Duke. But
No, that's not the thing. I'll explain why right here. I think Duke will be more talented at the end of the year than Carolina is. I just think Duke will have to play Kentucky and Gonzaga in their opening 4 games, and that's going to be a rude awakening, I think. I think Banchero is the ACC Player of the Year. He's a point forward. We overuse the term guard all 5 positions in basketball. He's 6'10", 250, and agile. He can guard all positions in basketball. I think he needs to run point for them to be truly successful, and they play Roach as an off-the-ball guard because I think Roach score first, so I think it works. But UNC, we've seen what those guys can do. That's why I had them as 1. But Coach K's final year, they'll get a couple extra calls in Cameron. I'm not going to deny that. It's just and Mark Williams, I played out of his mind in the ACC tournament towards the end of the year. He needs to make that leap. Wendell Moore needs to jump up from like the 10 points a game score to probably 12. And I like their freshmen, but again, it's freshmen in the ACC. Besides Vernon Carey 2 years ago, Duke's last few sets of freshmen have kind of been iffy. So,
or just flat out quit.
Okay, Jalen Johnson, yeah, needed that jab.
Yeah, but I agree with you. It is Coach K's last year, and I think just the perfect storyline is that they're an elite team in the ACC. Because that's like,
and Duke,
he needs to go out with a good team.
He does, and this could be that team. And I have them at 1B because Duke never wins the ACC regular season title. Mm-hmm. It's either UNC or Virginia or Florida State. I don't think Duke has won the regular season title since like 2010.
Yeah.
That is why they're 1B.
Yes. Okay. Unless we're getting a little ahead of ourselves here, but they were my pick for ACC tournament winner.
That's fine too. I can see it happening.
Okay. Yeah.
It's
I
fine.
don't, but I think they're easily, top 3 team.
I was gonna go Virginia Tech for ACC tournament winner, but
Oh, I like that
Duke.
too. I like that too. It seems like most of the time the team that wins the regular season is not the team that wins the tournament. So,
Or the
uh,
actual tournament.
right. Yeah, that's true also.
So
So,
I hope Carolina wins the regular season.
yeah.
I will be
Right,
on the
yeah.
record
That
saying
would be
that.
that would be the best thing for you. Yeah, so now that we've said I think all we need to say
Need to
about
say on
Duke.
Duke.
Like they're going
I
to be
could
good.
talk it. We could talk a whole episode on Duke and Maryland
We
solely.
could. Yeah.
So we
Yeah,
may need
we
to plan
could.
that out.
We
But
could. Yeah, so we need to cut off Alex while he's
honestly,
well, yeah.
I'll cut you off in the Big Ten recap. Well,
Yeah, yeah,
actually,
yeah, yeah. Well, I'll have a lot to say. It just might not all be positive. Because that. But all right, let's move on to UNC.
UNC,
We both picked them to win the regular season.
which a lot of people aren't
Um,
doing that. A
a
lot
lot
of
of people
people,
have Duke or Florida State even. I've seen a couple
yeah,
places. But I like you. Like I like their team. I think they're deep. They have a lot of guys that we know exactly what we're getting, and also guys that we're projecting will be much better. I think
and they're 8-9 wins.
Baycott's a lot of good people's pick for ACC Player of the Year. He happens to be mine also. I think
Mm,
this is the year that he really goes off. And if UNC does win the regular season, I do think. I mean that helps his case, obviously.
absolutely.
They bring in Brady Manick from Oklahoma.
I don't think
Um,
he'll start though. I think it'll be
he,
Garcia.
he won't start, but I guess I just bring him up as an example of like they're going to be a deep team
Justin
because
McCoy too, transfer from Virginia.
mhm.
They'll probably have Leaky Black coming off the bench, and I talked to a buddy. I'll shout him out here. My buddy's envisioning like a Theo Pinson type year for Leaky Black. So I mean that would be massive for the Tar Heels.
Oh yeah, that could be really interesting. I mean, at the end of the day, they have guys coming back. Caleb Love is back.
Kerwin
Baycott's
Walton,
back.
42% shooter. Caleb Love, I think, is going to make a massive leap. RJ Davis can score. They're a good team. They're really
Mhm.
good.
Yeah, and
They're being
first
undersold, which they're going to hear all off season.
yeah, and I mean, first year without Roy Williams at the top, but I trust Herbert Davis, and I think we mentioned this last episode too, but they even if Davis is, you know, struggling to coach, I don't really know what that looks
Players will win
like,
games.
but
Players will win games.
or I said it's Hubert Davis. Why did I say Herbert Davis? But
I don't know.
anyway,
I
the
left out.
players will be just fine.
They'll be.
They have the guys to win. I think over the long haul of the season,
They'll figure it out.
they're the ones that come out on top. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, so I guess I gave mine, but just real quick, what are your picks for? Did you say Paolo is your
I believe Paolo's going to
ACC?
win ACC
Okay,
Player of the Year.
okay,
My
I
most
can see
improved
it.
was
Easily freshman of the year. Easily.
easily runaway freshman of the year.
Run away. Just give it to him now. Like
Newcomer of the year. Newcomer of the year. I think it because they have that award for some reason.
oh, because it's like to include transfers too.
And so in my mind, it's either Banchero or it's Ellis from Louisville.
Uh-huh.
Either one of them can win it.
Hmm.
I think coach of the year, because I have Carolina won, Davis, first year without Roy Williams. I think Davis has to win that. If Duke wins the regular season, it's got to be Coach K. Like, you got to give him his 6 ACC coach of the year.
Yeah.
Who's your first team?
I actually didn't go through and
Okay. I
go
have
through
it
my
if you
first
want
team.
it.
Okay, yeah, give me your first team. The thing with me with that is like
I
I'll
think
go through the rosters and I'll be like, oh, that's a first team guy. But I find myself leaning more towards like backcourt players and front court players. So I mean
I
I
okay.
do think Paolo is first team. I think probably Buddy Boeheim is first team. Um, I think I think Storm Murphy is first team.
Oh wow.
I
That is
think
bold.
I think if I'm going to be that high on Virginia Tech, I also have to be like they have a first team player. I don't know.
Okay, well, here's my thing.
Okay.
I had Keve Aluma. Like it's a front court ACC first team. So I have
Okay.
Aluma first team. I have Baycott, Banchero, Buddy Boeheim, and then my fifth
Mhm.
guy, Isaiah Wong, is going to score so many points for Miami. I think he just earns that fifth spot.
Okay. Yeah, Wong for me also is probably
He's a contender.
he's a contender. Yeah,
He'll
he's
make a
like
team. He'll definitely make a team.
he'll be, I think, second team at worst. Like
And
he
we
is
and we were
gonna.
high on Miami, so might as well include Isaiah Wong.
Well, we're even higher on Miami than our rankings indicated because we had them at 9, and we spent like 5 minutes just praising Miami for how good they're going to be.
Which really didn't. I didn't think I would. And then I thought
Yeah,
about it.
I didn't expect that coming in, but that's just kind of
No.
how it went.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have anything else? I'm done. I said all my stuff. I'm good.
I hope Derek Lively comes to Duke. If he
I think he
doesn't,
will.
no one talk to me for at least like 2-3
But
days.
oh, please, you'll be fine. Yeah. So for the viewers at home, the Lively commit will happen.
Go check out the article. I'll
Before
have
you
it
hear
up.
this episode. Yeah, but the article will be up.
The ACC
Yes.
preview will be up soon. We got
ACC preview will be up. Just go to vendettasportsmedia.com. Check out our written content. We're going to be pumping it out before the start of the season. Team previews, conference previews, just sort of other opinion pieces.
Watch out for another preseason
everything.
25.
We need to adjust the preseason top. We need to update it.
Texas got a lot better.
Texas got better, and we both don't like UCLA. So
yeah, I need to drop UCLA a little bit.
Yeah, so look for that. Again, this is brought to you by Vendetta Sports Media. Go check out the site. Big shout out to Dave, our editor.
Yes.
Yeah, we appreciate the work that people do behind the scenes to make this possible. Go follow us on Twitter at JimArrangePod. I think our Twitter's fun. I think we have a fun Twitter.
We have a great Twitter.
I think we have a fun Twitter. So go follow that, and then follow us on Spotify. Never miss an episode. Yeah, for me, for Alex, that's going to do it. We'll see you next time for our next conference preview.